and welcome back to Trains Up North. Today, what's all that ringing in the signal box? We're talking bell codes. What are they? What do they mean? All this will be explained in this video. Now, this video is going to be for the die-hard rail fans that want to know exactly what the different bell codes mean. So, I know it's not going to be for everyone. If you're studying to become a signaller, you may find this useful. All the bell codes that I'm using in this video are based on the current general signalling regulations, which are found in Rulebook Module TS1. So yeah, if this isn't for you, you don't think you're going to find this interesting, by all means stick around, see what you think. However, there'll be another video at the top of the screen now that you might find a little bit more interesting. As signal boxes came along prior to everyone having telephones, and certainly well before people had mobile phones, we needed to communicate with each other. The way we did that was by a system of bells. So some clever people came up with the idea that we could have bells in the signal box. Now, so we don't get confused, because you might have a signal box either side. If you're at a junction, you could well have 3 signal boxes communicating to you. So each bell from the other signal boxes will sound slightly different, so you can tell which one's which. So all the bell codes I'm using today are from the Network Rail standards, and other bell codes were used in the past, however they're not used anymore. I'm not going to be looking at these, and even if you're modelling in the past, I don't think anybody will pick up if your bell codes are slightly wrong in your signal box, so don't worry. I'm going to be using abbreviations in this video because not all the bell codes are applicable to all situations. So the abbreviations I'm going to use are going to be AB, Alpha Bravo, for absolute block. So if that comes up on the screen, that means that that bell code is used in absolute block. ETB, Echo Tango Bravo, electronic token block. So if that comes up on the screen, that means that bell code's applicable to ETB. Track circuit block. So for that I'm going to be using Tango Charlie Bravo, or TCB. You can probably figure out how I've come up with these, and indeed I have just lifted them straight out of the rulebook. And general signalling regulations, GSR, Golf Sierra Romeo. So the first thing we need to do is we need to grab the signaler's attention. So we do that by the call attention bell, which is one bell. We use that almost every time to get the signaler's attention. I say almost because there are some instances when we don't use that, and I will cover them. So what we'd do is we'd give one call on the bell to the signaller that we wanted to communicate with, and then they'd reply with one call on the bell. The reason they do that is to say, I'm here, I'm listening. When you're using bell signals, it's not actually fully sent until it's been replied to you. So we send it, the next signaller sends it back, so that we know that they've heard it and they've understood it, because it could be quite easy to reply with the wrong bell code if we're not careful. So that's why we do that. If you don't want to accept a bell code, so for instance we're working a signal box and the signaller says, can you accept a class 1 train using the bell system, so 4 bells, and we're not in a position to accept it, all we do is simply ignore it. Don't reply. Now that's not being rude, it's the way it's done. So what the signaller that's trying to send that train will do is wait and just keep sending that signal at regular intervals. So we've sent 4 bells, we haven't got a reply, so we'll wait a little while and then we'll send it again, because it may be that they were doing something else and they weren't ready to accept it, or they were getting rid of a train out of their section before they could accept it. So that's why we do that. As I said, the call attention isn't used in every situation, so the times we don't use the call attention bell tend to be emergencies and things that are really unusual. I say that, however, the first one in the rulebook is train entering section. The reason we don't send call attention for that is because the signal is already there. We know he's there because he's just said line's clear, so we say right, train now entering section, 2 bells. Restricted acceptance. Which I'll come into in a future video, but that's another one when we don't use the call attention. The obstruction, danger, or the emergency alarm in TCB. So the 6 bells, you don't need to send it for that. If you need police attention urgently at your box, again, we wouldn't send the call attention for that. However, the first beat of that is 1. If we need the signal on the telephone. Don't know why that doesn't need someone's attention, but apparently it doesn't. Personally, I'd have thought it would, but I'm not the person who writes the rules. If there's a train or a vehicle that's passing without authorisation, so something that's past our signal box or past the signal without authority, whether it's in the right direction or the wrong direction, then again we don't send the call attention for that. So yeah, with the bell signals, you can't consider any bell signal to be sent and understood unless it's been correctly acknowledged. So if we send 4 bells and we don't get a reply, then it hasn't been understood or acknowledged, so we can't consider it as being that the signaller knows what we're going to do. And likewise, if we sent 4 bells and they replied with a different bell code, just so that we avoid any confusion. Signalling, it's going to get a lot more complicated as I go into these videos. This is just a little bit of an extra video. I just thought it'd be useful for people to perhaps know a little bit about bell codes. And you may well have been to a railway station or a heritage station and heard bells in the signal box and wondered what they are and what they mean, because it is like a dark art. And I've been studying this for a number of years now and learning them for a number of years, and sometimes there's some bell signals that I don't fully understand, or I hear them and I think, I'm not sure what that is because it's an unusual one, or there'll be something like an unusual move that you have to do and it's like, oh, I've got this unusual move that's needed and I can't quite remember how to do it, so you get your rule book out and you have a little bit of brush up and a read. But yeah, that happens, and it is something that as time goes on you get more familiar with things like this and it does come clearer, believe me. Okay, so as I've said, the first thing we'd do is call attention, 1 bell, and then we'd get 1 bell back. So then we need to say what we want to say. So we'd give 1 bell, we'd get 1 bell back, and then we'd send our other message. So when we open the signal box, one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to call attention, and then we're going to give the bell code 5 pause 5 pause 5. So when we're doing bell codes, what we do is either 1 or a number of bells, and then we'll put a pause in there, and then we'll do some more when it's appropriate for that code. So some codes don't have any pauses, some have pauses, and the number of bells and the pauses make up the message. It's similar to Morse code. So 555 lets the other signaller know that we're opening the box. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to test the equipment. So what we'd do is we'd send 16 bells in a row, and then we'd test the equipment. And every time we test something, it's the block instruments that we're testing here. So as we're testing the block instruments, as we change each one, the signaller at the other box would acknowledge that by one beat on the bell, just to say yes, it's working. And when they do the same, and the block instrument changes to from normal to line clear, we just acknowledge that with one bell. And then they'd put the block instrument to train on line, we'd acknowledge that with one bell, and then they'd put it back to normal. And again, we just acknowledge everything with one bell, just lets them know everything's working. It has been known that a signaller in one box, we'll call it box A, has sent a message to the signaller in box B using the bells, and the signaller in box B has had absolutely no idea what that is. So what they've done is they've got on the telephone and rung the box A and said, "What's that signal you just sent me, mate? Because I don't know." It happens. It is quite rare though. But normally if you want a signaller on the telephone, we'd do 1, pause, 2. So what I'm going to do now is just go into the different bell codes. So don't forget we call attention before we send these. So the first one I'm going to do is 4 bells. So at 4 bells, we're asking the signaller, is the line clear? Can you accept a class 1 train? Now we're going to either get that replied or we're going to get that ignored. And like I said, if it's ignored, we'll wait a little while and then we'll send it again. So we're not waiting hours, we're not waiting 10 minutes, we might wait a minute, 30 seconds, and then we'll send it again. Next one is 3 pause 1. Can we send a class 2? Is the line clear for a class 2 train? I'm going to just speed this up now, because otherwise the video could end up being too long and I don't want that. So then we have 1 pause 3 pause 1, which is for a class 3 train. Then we have 3 pause 1 pause 1, which is a class 4 train. A class 5 train is 2 pause 2 pause 1. A class 6 train is 5. A class 7 train is a 4 pause 1. A class 8 train is 3 pause 2. So a class 9 passenger train, which is a class 373 or other passenger train specially authorised, is a 1 pause 4. An empty class 9 train, so empty coaching stock, is a 1 pause 4 pause 1. A class 0, which is locomotive or locomotives that are running light, is a 2 pause 3. A train, when your train is entering section, this is just 2 beats on the bell. Remember, we don't need to send the call attention for this one. A train out of section, so this is letting the signaller know the train's left the section, is a 2 pause 1. The removal of an obstruction is 2 pause 1 pause 2. To cancel a train. So we might have signalled or told a signaller in the next box that a train's coming, and then for whatever reason it's not. So we'll cancel it, which is a 3 pause 5. Good way to remember that is not going. So train not going, 3 pause 5. Not is 3 letters, so 3 beats on the bell, and then we'll have a pause and going, which is 5. Train incorrectly described. So we've told the signaller that the next train is going to be a class 1, and then we think, oh no it's not, it's going to be a class 6 train. So we've sent the signaller the wrong information. So we'll send them a 5 pause 3. And again, another way to remember this is wrong 1. So wrong 5 letters, 1, 3. And the reason this is important is because you don't want a passenger train going onto a freight only line or something like that. So, you know, it is important. If it happens, it happens. We're not going to start throwing signals back in front of a train to danger. So, you know, it's one of them. We'll deal with it at a later date. Hopefully the driver will realise. Restricted acceptance. So I'm going to go into restricted acceptance on another video when I look a little bit more in depth at the rules. Line now clear to the clearing point. So if we've been shunting a train and the clearing point's not clear, then once it is clear, we need to let the signaller know. Locomotive has arrived. So again, this could be when we're shunting and things like that, or running a locomotive around a train for whatever reason. So if we've had a train in the section and we've drawn it back so the section's now clear, then we'll send a 3 pause 2 pause 3. Obstruction or danger. Now this bell code has 2 meanings. So it's obstruction or danger in absolute block and electronic token block. If we're in track circuit block signalling, 6 beats on the bell is an emergency alarm. And like I said, I am going to explain these in future videos. So if we're blocking back inside the home signal, then we send 2 pause 4. So what we're doing there is saying, can we do it? Not we are doing it, it's can we do it? And then the signaller at the other box will say, yes you can, by repeating it. So if we're blocking back outside the home signal, then we'll send 3 pause 3. And again, if we're blocking back outside the home signal, like I said, I will do videos on these because this probably means very little to most people, I understand. If we're blocking the line for protection purposes, this is 2 pause 2 pause 2. Blocking line for protection purposes, so we might be protecting somebody who has to go on the track for whatever reason, and once we've done that and it's all clear and they've said yeah you can have the track back, we've done what we need to do, then we'll send 1 pause 2 pause 2. So those 2 may be for something like a signal engineer or track engineers to go on the line just to have a look and do a quick inspection. If we're shunting into the forward section in absolute block, then what we do is we send 3 pause 3 pause 2. And again, we're saying, can we do it? No, we are doing it. There is an exception to this, which is if the signal box that we're shunting into their section is closed and they open the signal box while we're already doing it, then we'll send it, and at that point it's we're already doing it, mate, because you weren't there. If we say to them, can we shunt into the forward section, so the 3 pause 3 pause 2, and then we decide actually no, we can get away without doing that, we can withdraw the shunt, and we do that with 8 bells. If we've got a train that we're working in the wrong direction, this is a 2 pause 3 pause 3. Train clear of the section, 5 pause 2. Train withdrawn is 2 pause 5. So again, can you see how they're similar? And what we do is we swap the 2 and the 5 around for those two. In electronic token block, if we want the signaller to release the token, it's 5 pause 2. And when we replace the token, it's 2 pause 5. So again, we can see how those two are related. If we want somebody to stop and examine the train, so train goes past our signal box and we notice there's something that's not quite right. So with traditional slam door stock, it might be that there's a door open. So we'd send 7 bells to the next signaller, and then the signaller knows that he needs to stop the train and ask the train crew to examine it just to make sure everything's okay. It might not be a door issue, there's a number of reasons we might want them to stop and examine a train. If a train has passed without a tail lamp, we'll send either 9 bells or 4 pause 5. Now, this is in absolute block and electronic token block. The tail lamp is really important for us when we're signalling and when trains go past, because if a train goes past without a tail lamp, how do we know that it hasn't left a wagon or a coach behind in the section? And if we haven't got track circuits, then we might not know, and we could end up sending something else when there's an obstruction. So that's why when a train goes past our signal box, we observe it and we look for the tail lamp, and if it hasn't got one, then we know we've got an issue. It might have fallen off, the lamp might have gone out, but we need to figure out what's happened. So if we've got a train or a vehicle proceeding without authority in the wrong direction, it's 2 pause 5 pause 5. With lines, we often have an up and a down direction, and trains will only go in one direction on that line. We do have bidirectional lines where we can run trains in either direction, but a lot of track we have an up and a down line, so we might have an up fast and an up slow. We could have a down fast and a down slow, and on each one of them the trains are only going to go in a particular direction. So if it's going in the wrong direction, that's where this one comes in. If we've got a train or a vehicle proceeding without authority that's going in the right direction, we send 4 pause 5 pause 5. So a train or a vehicle that's gone past a signal at danger. Now it could be that the brakes have failed and they can't stop the train, but you know, it's going to be pretty major, so we need to let the signaller at the next box know we've got a problem, and then they can sort of get other trains out the way and change points and make sure that it's going to be as safe as possible. in electronic token block. So we'd use this if we've got a bi-directional line or something like that. So we've got a train proceeding without authority for electronic token block. So this could be either direction, but again it's only applicable to ETB rules, and that's a 2 pause 5 pause 5. So again it's the same bell code as the one we had for AB when it's going in the wrong direction. So you know, it's not as hard to remember some of these as you'd think. When we close in the signal box, it's a 755. That's one that we all like, especially to send it, because it means we're going home. Sometimes in absolute block, we'll close a signal box where the signal box is just there for capacity reasons, and the signal box isn't needed at night. And what we do is we'll lock out the signal box, so the line's still open but that box isn't. And yeah, so what we'll do in that case is we'll send a 557, and there are procedures that we need to do when we're doing that. And then we're looking at other ones that are for specific things. These are things like a 2 pause 6 pause 1, a 2 pause 6 pause 2, 2 pause 6 pause 3, 2 pause 1 pause 6, 1 pause 2 pause 6. So these are all for trains that need specific things, so that they might not be able to pass certain other trains on adjacent lines and things like that, or trains that require other lines to be blocked for them to pass, trains with speed or route restrictions, things such as out of gauge loads. I've put the descriptions on screen for you to read. It's not that easy to understand, I get that. However, I just thought I'd introduce them, and yeah, they will become useful in future videos, believe me. You might have watched this video, got to here and thought, I haven't got a clue about what he's going on about. Feel free to watch it over and over again. You might want to learn them, like I said, if you're going into signalling, or if you've got insomnia and you want a cure for it. Yeah, I know insomnia is something that is quite a serious medical condition. I'm not trying to make light of that, but I do understand this is a boring subject. So if you've got to here, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe. And until next time, goodbye.